guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm back here at one of my special spots because guess what? I want to do another deep dive into this vehicle right here. What is it? It's a 2024 Toyota GR86. But before we get into this manual transmission Performance Pack equipped GR86, let's talk about what's going on here. So one of the biggest things I get from people is, I'm thinking about going Elantra N or Honda Civic Type R or GR86. Now the crazy thing is, those three cars are very, very different, especially the Type R and the GR86. Now both of them provide a very amazing driving experience, but they do it in their own little way. So what I want to do is, I want to get behind the wheel and take you with me in this GR86 and really kind of run through what the performance feels like and the whole balance of the car being a rear-wheel drive sports car compared to, we're going to get into my very own Honda Civic Type R and talk about front-wheel drive performance and see at the end of this deep dive which way you should spend your money. So without further ado, first up, since we have it, is this GR86. Let's get to it. All right, guys, we're going to start off in this Toyota GR86, comparing it to my FL5 Civic Type R. Right away, the key word is raw. This vehicle definitely has a much more raw driving experience, and that's one of the reasons why I love this GR86 compared to my Civic Type R. But why don't we go on throttle while we're here and see how the acceleration is. 228 horsepower, 315 horsepower. GR86 is at a disadvantage, but let's see what we got. On throttle, here we go, yeah! Nice. So what this car lacks in horsepower, it definitely has tons of personality. Now I do have it in track mode, and I did shut off all the nannies to it. So we'll be doing the same when we get into my Type R. But what you're gonna find is that this car, being about 300-400 pounds lighter than the Civic Type R, just has this really amazing balance to it. I mean, through the twisty bits, it feels like you could position this car wherever you want in a turn. Whereas with the Civic Type R, you're still having very quick input, and you could position that car as well really, really good. But there's just something about a rear-wheel drive sports car that is so much different than front-wheel drive. There isn't any automatic rev match downshift feature in here, so you're gonna have to learn how to do your heel-toe downshifting. For example, here we go. On the brakes, nice little blip there, downshift. Love the tachometer in this thing, especially when you're in track mode. It's easy to see where you are in the rev range. Gear indicator is ginormous, and visibility is fantastic. Now, another thing that I like about the GR86 is that you're so low in the car that it feels like you're actually going faster than what the speedometer is telling you. And I like that sensation. I think that is a nice classic light sports car sensation, being low to the ground. But the way that this thing just grips and the input into the wheel that you have to do is, it's very light, it's very manageable. You know, you got to remember too that the clutch in this thing, it's got a nice weight to it, good pickup point, and if you can't heel-toe downshift in this car, I don't know what to tell you. You might have to just go with an automatic, get an Elantra N with an 8-speed DCT. Now what's surprising is that obviously this car does not have adaptive suspension. And this particular one, being the Track Pack, has the SAC suspension, and it does a really, really good job over these bumps in these backcountry roads. And that, to me, really shows the work that's been done to the chassis, to that suspension, to the balance. The key word in all of this is balance. The gearbox is good, but it is not as good as the Honda Civic Type R. The one thing that is easy to do in this car is to shift when you're on throttle very quickly from first to second, whereas with the Type R, even with the FL5, you still have to be a little gingerly going into that second gear. It does not like fast shifts into second gear. But other than that, this thing, I think the one biggest zonk for boat cars is gonna be the annoying pumped in sound. Get rid of that, find out whatever fuse is in control of that. I wish that auto manufacturers would just make it a simple setting in the infotainment system. But what's great about this car is on roads like this, where you have these tight 90-degree corners, the GR86 actually performs better than the Type R, because you're able to get that rear end to squat under throttle, swing the back out just a little bit to square off the corner, whereas with a front-wheel drive car, you don't have that luxury. You have to drive a front-wheel drive car differently than a rear-wheel drive car. But this thing is just a ton of fun. it just, the way it speaks to you is so much different than the Honda Civic Type R. The Civic Type R, believe it or not, is more of a brute with the extra horsepower and torque that it has, and it just really lays down the speed and performance. Whereas this, you gotta build into it. It's all about managing your speed and carrying that speed into the corners. But there's no replacement for the lack of a turbocharger. It would be very interesting to see what this GR86 is all about with a turbocharged engine. But visibility is great. I love the vantage point of the two peak fenders. And this one just seems to have the more timeless design compared to the Civic Type R. So that's another thing to think about, is styling and whatnot. Now, you have 18-inch wheels compared to 19-inch wheels. They both have 4-piston Brembos up front, and because this has the track pack, you got the actual Brembos out back as well. Both have limited slip diffs. It's one of those things where, how do you want to have your performance? Do you want the rawest, purest form of it? Or do you want to go a little different route and have basically the world's fastest front-wheel drive performance car? Now, for everyday usability, even though this does have a decent amount of space for the type of car that it has, you will not beat the usability of the hatchback and the cargo area that the Type R has. But I think, for me, the things that this car lacks compared to the Type R, it just makes up in personality. And I'll be honest with you, I was considering getting a GR86 or a BRZ when they did the redesign. I really loved the new look. Lori had a 2017 Subaru BRZ, so we've had experience in these cars, and there's just something that every time I jump into one, it's like putting on your favorite pair of shoes. They fit right, they're broken in perfectly, and you just know that they're gonna work well. That's how I feel about this GR86 and the Subaru BRZ, is that it just works well. You know, as soon as you get behind the wheel, it's gonna be a great experience. Now, the Type R does have the automatic rev match downshift feature, and it's pretty damn good. The pedal placement though, if you wanna do your own heel-toe downshifting, the pedal placement is not as good as this GR86. Another thing I'm noticing, and I don't know if you're picking it up on my face, but where we were just at in that straightaway, because of the angle of the duckbill spoiler and because of where the sun is, it was actually sending glare from the spoiler to the mirror to my face. So just something to bring up, because remember, where the Type R's wing is, it gives you an unobstructed rear view out back on the car. Seats, it's hard. I think that these seats are phenomenal. I think that these seats are more daily friendly, but bar none, the seats in the Civic Type R just have that goodness that you want, where the bolstering is fantastic. The adaptive suspension, yes, in Plus R mode, it's really freaking stiff, and I wouldn't recommend driving on a bumpy road on it or a bumpy track. But in comfort, if you're daily driving, it's pretty crazy what the Honda engineers have done with that adaptive suspension. Especially, like I said, in comfort mode, it lives up to its name. It really does. In this car, you don't have the adaptive suspension like I mentioned earlier, but you do have these great seats. The seats are great. I'm 6 feet tall. I still have plenty of headroom in here. I mean, I could get a helmet on and do my track day. Type R has more room. So you just need to really dig deep inside on why you're buying the car, the performance car that you're buying. And you definitely, if you can, want to get behind the wheel of one of these, because I'm telling you, it's like you're not even thinking about that stuff, especially on the right twisty road. This GR86 is just a fantastic car to dance with. All right, guys, one more time in this Toyota GR86, and then we're switching to my Type R. Are you ready? On throttle, here we go! Easier to launch this car from a dead stop. On those brakes. Nice balance, I'm telling you, very little body roll. Wind it all the way out, no more torque dip like the previous gen. Look at this. Really just communicates so well with you, and it's such a fun car to drive. But let's see how our experience is gonna go in my 2023 Honda Civic Type R. Let's swap keys and go on throttle. We are inside now my FL5 Type R. And one thing you're gonna notice is obviously it's gonna be louder, because remember I had John at LHT Performance add that beautiful titanium exhaust to the Type R, and the sound is just perfect for me. Don't hear so much the piped in noise anymore because of what's coming out the back, but right away you're gonna feel the tighter performance seats. They're not uncomfortable by any means, but they definitely are tighter on the body. So depending on your body type, you're gonna wanna get in one of these and see how you like it. Visibility is amazing in the Type R, even more so than the BRZ. And like I said, out back, you're not gonna find any wing blocking your view. But I'm gonna start off in second gear. We got some tight stuff, and see how front wheel drive performance goes compared to rear wheel drive. Are you ready? Gotta go around this dirt right here. On throttle, here we go. On the brakes. It's just as much fun in a different kind of way. The one thing I am missing is being able to rotate the car like a rear wheel drive car like the BRZ, but the tight stuff is still fun, still very manageable. And of course, this gearbox is probably the second best, second only to the mighty 911 GT3. That's how good this gearbox is. Next after that would be the GR86 gearbox. But you're definitely finding a little bit stiffer ride in the Civic Type R. I do have it set with my individual preferences to be in sport mode. The plus R mode is just ridiculous. Like I said, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But you are gonna feel a little bit more bump and grind. Another thing, remember, is shifting from first to second. If you're not gingerly with it, it's gonna grind on you. And for whatever reason, that's just how it is with these Type R gearboxes. But let's go on throttle again. First gear, on throttle. Tire spin, of course. Trying to get the power to the ground. No torque steer, so you don't have to worry about that. Here we go. Love the Formula One style shift lights. But definitely just really dialed in nicely. The brakes work phenomenal. Nice grip. But you are noticing, like, I'm getting a little bit of wheel hop when I'm exiting a corner. If the road isn't totally smooth, it's wheel hopping just a little bit. Whereas with the GR86, you wouldn't have to worry about that with that limited slip diff out front. We do have a limited slip diff up front, but out back on the GR86, it just grabs and goes a lot more effectively, especially on a bumpy surface. But the steering feel and feedback is absolutely spectacular in the Type R. I definitely like the digital gauge display better. Even though the one, the GR86 is good, this one is better. It's larger, the graphics are more clear, and when you set up your preferences, you can have that nice large gear indicator right in the center, your tack across the top, and the Formula One style shift lights. Plus, of course, you got the data logger, which is really awesome, especially if you're going to a track day. And for just driving on regular roads, it's got all of the important gauges. Water temp, oil temp, all of those things to really make sure that you know that everything is in check, where you do have some information in the GR86, but not as much as the Type R. But what I am missing is just that rear-wheel drive where you're able to go into a corner, power out, and then swing out the back of the car a little bit just to square it off. Now let me know in the comment section what you're thinking about the sound of the exhaust. I know some people would probably say this a little boomy, but like I said, for me, I'm digging it. Of course, in the Type R, you have a lot more room on the interior because you got 2 extra doors and a hatchback, so that's kind of a no-brainer. And this does come with the Bose sound system if you're gonna listen to music, but I'll be honest with you, people that know me, I don't listen to music when I'm driving. I just don't, especially if I'm doing any spirited driving. Hell no, the music is the engine, is the exhaust. And that's why, for me, EVs will never be my friend. Not even the Ioniq 5N, it's not gonna be my friend. This is my friend, because it's real, and I dig that. But clutch pickup, it's just as light as the GR86, but I actually like the pickup point better in the GR86 than in the Type R. Brakes are pretty good on both ends. Obviously we don't have Brembos out back, but you do have the Brembos up front, and you have those nice large discs. But why don't we go ahead and do some twisty driving here. You ready? First gear. I'm gonna go in a second because there's no traction. There just isn't. On throttle, here we go. Second gear, you get all the juice from that squeeze. Look at this. This is awesome. And it's interesting how it does not run out of steam whatsoever. Now, neither car has a torque dip, so that's good news. But this engine, the 2-liter engine in the Type R, the turbocharged engine, just keeps pulling like a freaking freight train all the way up to 7,000 RPM, and it comes on really hard. The good news is the GR86 does pull all the way to redline as well, but obviously with the turbocharged setup in this, it just pulls harder all the way to that redline. But it's very controllable, very manageable. Just first gear in this is so pointless, it's not even funny. It's not even funny, like to just start from a dead stop, it does you no good because it just overpowers the front tires. Whereas with the GR86, because it's rear wheel drive and because you have less horsepower, even though you're getting a little bit of wheel spin, it's nothing compared to this. This is just downright, it just overpowers the tires and you're just spinning. And to me, if you're spinning, you're not winning, and that means you're not going forward. May sound cool, may look cool, but I promise you it's not. Guys, pulling away, like I said, clutch pickup is good. Just a little bit better than the GR86. Here we go, on throttle. On those Brembos. Look at this. Now I'm actually heel-toe downshifting to make it even Stevens between the two cars, because remember, the GR86 does not have automatic rev match downshift. And even though I'm able to do heel-toe downshift fairly easy in this car, it's still better in the GR86. The pedals are just better placed. But if you're not gonna do your own heel-toe downshifting, then obviously the automatic rev match in this car is just dynamite. It really, really is a fantastic system. But just driving this on the right roads, just like the GR86, is awesome. Here we go, on throttle. I mean, look at how it grips, holds a line very nicely. And I'm telling you right now, for a front-wheel drive car, it's gonna freaking blow your mind. No other front-wheel drive car, close as an Elantra N, but no other front-wheel drive car performs like this thing. It really, really does not perform like this. It's unbelievable what Honda has done. I'm gonna do a little bit of a U-turn here. We're gonna go back on throttle. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. On throttle, here we go. Short shift in a second. Look at this. Dab the brake. Over the hill. It just hunkers down very, very nicely. But there's that little bit of bounce over the rough pavement. Tight right-hander, here we go. But you're still getting that pumped-in sound on both cars. I would find the fuse and just yank it out. The good news is on the Type R, my Type R at least, with the way the exhaust is, it's keeping the artificial sound to a minimum that I could hear at least. And it is possible to pivot with the rear. It's just on the street, no. You shouldn't be going to that extent on the street. On a track or an autocross course, sure. You go in with enough speed, you'll be able to get that back end to rotate a little bit. So something to think about as well. But like I said, for that pure connected driving experience, GR86 all the way. If you're wanting more power and a different feel and overall experience, then go to the Type R. I mean, you just gotta be honest with yourself. It's sort of like back in school when usually it was like the school nurse or somebody would come into the classroom and they would have you take a survey and you don't put your name on it, and they would just say, hey, answer this and be as honest as possible. That's what you want to do when you're looking between the GR86 and the Type R. Never mind, like I said, there is basically a $10,000 difference between the two vehicles. But I'm hoping that this deep dive has helped answer some of your questions. Maybe you got some new questions, or maybe even never even thought about these questions. Let me know in the comment section if this has been helpful. We're gonna get back to where it all started with that GR86 and wrap this one up. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, been another fantastic time bringing you these deep dives, especially with fun cars like this GR86 and my Honda Civic Type R. Definitely want to thank everybody at Toyota for getting us access to this press fleet vehicle. But let me know what you think. Is it worth, you think, the extra 10 G's to go with a Honda Civic Type R? Or are you thinking that this is the way to go, having that rear-wheel drive balance, a little bit more playful environment sitting inside the GR86 compared to the Type R? Let me know in the comment section. But if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. I'll come back for more. If you are a subscriber, think you're being part of the Raise Rise family, need to give it up. Stephen Flood, he's bringing it all. Today, he brought the sunshine. Tomorrow, it may be a different story with rain. That's what Stephen Flood brings. He is in connection with the universe. Thank you, Stephen, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.